And as soon as I'd done that, he carried on interviewing me. He just lost that engagement.
Yeah, man.
But I did that with Pharoahe Monch when I interviewed him, and he was like, "Oh man, thank you. No one ever asked me this shit." So it's like you can never tell how it's going to go, basically. So.
Welcome back to Shotgun the Orcs. It's your boy Tom on a solo tip today, as Aidan and Jake unfortunately can't make it. Firstly, apologies for the unsophisticated setup today. Our equipment is kind of interspersed between us during lockdown. So it's kind of back to our grassroots to when we first started this shit, recording, 3 of us huddled around an iPad and 1 microphone. So we'll see how we get on. But without further ado, today I'm joined by a very special guest, music journalist, blogger, interviewer, hip-hop and music enthusiast, mental health awareness advocate, podcast host, and general all-round lovely bloke, Tim Fish, a.k.a. Ginger Slim. How are you doing, man?
I'm good, thank you, Tom. Thanks for having me, man.
Oh, you're welcome, man. It's a long time overdue, and we were just saying it's a shame that it has to be over Skype, and we will definitely get you on for a chat, and we'll have a few beers and that. But what have you been doing at the moment, man, during this unprecedented time? Because it's weird for everyone.
It is weird, man, but I don't know. For me personally, I spent a lot of my days in my previous life as a bit of a reclusive shut-in. So I kind of seen that as practice for what's happening now, because it really hasn't fazed me that much. I think the biggest impact is not being able to see people. That's only this. But luckily, I live with 5 other people. So, and we've got a big house, so it's if we want to hang out together, we can. If we don't, we can just go to our rooms or whatever. So it's quite nice. If I was on a place by myself, I think it would be a lot different, mental health impact wise. But
yeah, man.
Yeah, I've been all right, man, to be honest. Touch wood.
Yeah, no, exactly, man. I think it's weird. It's a global thing, you know. It's very surreal that everyone's impacted by it. Do you know what I mean? It's not just kind of regional pockets here and there. It's something we all have in common with each other now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me. But so obviously, it's good that you've got a bit of company locked down during this quarantine and stuff. What else have you been doing to kind of preoccupy yourself? Obviously, writing. There's a lot of memes about music, bit of weed. What's going on, man? Yeah, basically,
focusing on all the little jobs that I should have been doing ages ago, either writing wise or just boring life admin stuff. A lot of reading. I read a lot, so books have always been a good way for me to just find myself in another place. Films to an extent, but I don't know, I just prefer to use my own imagination. And
I hear that, man.
I think it stems from maybe being an only child and something I was just I always read when I was a kid, and it's just always sort of stuck with me.
What are you reading right now?
At the moment, I'm reading a book called The Quiet American by Graham Greene. It's a classic English crime novel. Graham Greene's one of my favourite authors, and for some reason I'd never read that book and found it in my own collection, so I thought I'd just read it. I've been writing pitches for things. I'm trying to get more active in my writing. Whatever I can do to keep myself focused, man, basically.
Are you more of a fan of fiction or non-fiction when you're reading something?
Fiction, literally 95% fiction. I can't.
Is that due to the escapism kind of element to it?
I think so. I think it's just that detachment from reality. I do read non-fiction books that are interesting. I've been reading I forgot what the title is, but it's an anthology of Tribe Called Quest, but written from a fan point of view. I forgot what it's called, but yeah, it's very good. But it's that sort of thing I read, but otherwise pure fiction.
Yeah, man, I hear you. I think fiction is kind of a part to it's escapism, really. I'm reading on kind of a morbid note, that series that came out on Netflix, Mindhunter, that David Fincher directed. But they haven't commissioned it for a 3rd season because not enough people are watching it, I guess. But it's the book that it's based on. Okay. So kind of the real life kind of the stories behind a task force that was set up to profile serial killers and catch them based on behavioural patterns and stuff.
Because most of the people in that were based on real characters, weren't they? What's the big guy called? I've forgotten his name.
Oh man, I can't remember for the life of me.
The main guy in the first season. But I've seen footage of him being interviewed in real life. And
Ed Kemper, that's it. Ed Kemper. Yeah, man. He's the guy who plays him. I can't remember the actor's name. He popped up in something again recently, and it took me a while to recognise him. But he is unnerving, man. And reading it in a book because it's so clinical. Do you know what I mean? The things that these people have done. and just the way that they work and stuff. The guy interviewing him was just like, I'm not going to lie, like he was somewhat likable when I was talking to him, like because he's spoken to so many people, and a lot of like people he was like, nah, they're literally scumbags. Like you get such a bad vibe from them, but they said with him, he was just so like charismatic, and it's just weird, man. It's weird how kind of
I think that's quite a common. I think that's quite a common attribute, because what was the was it Ted Bundy? But they made the 2 films recently. Is it where who was playing him? But anyway, and he was like really charismatic and that, and everyone was like, "How dare you portray him as this suave?" It's like, well, that's who he was. That's how he got these women. That's how he did these things. Man. If you have to have that like sociopathic, psychopath, that's always one of the traits. Is like being a suave motherfucker. It's weird.
Pathological liar and that, you know. Do you watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Do you know what, man? I've had so many people tell me that would be the best show for me to watch, blah blah blah, and I've tried to get into it, and I can't. I don't know. It just never clicks with me, man.
Man, I was chatting to Bobby Gareth from Boogaloo the other day. I was chatting to him about it, and he was just like, it's just a shouting match. It's just people shouting at each other. And I said, but once that is true, but once it clicks into place, you just kind of get it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like my wife didn't get it for ages, and as soon as it clicked for her, she just like was obsessed. Do you know what I mean? But the reason I bring it up is because one of the characters, Dennis Reynolds, I think he was definitely based on Ted Bundy, man.
Right.
Definitely.
Is he like the main? Is he like the main? The guy who turns out to be gay, right? Then is that the?
That's Mac.
Oh, Mac. Okay,
he was in Fargo, because we were talking about it the other day. You know, he was like the fitness instructor in the first season who gets shot. That guy.
Yeah. Really camp guy.
Yeah, man, he's amazing. But anyway, we digress, man. Sorry, obviously I did tell you we go on a few tangents today. So I know obviously, you've been reading a lot. You're keeping your mind occupied. You've been reading, but I know when and apologies for bringing it up if you don't want to talk about it. But you recently interviewed a bit of a legend, R.A. the Rugged Man.
I did indeed, man, and it was probably the worst interview I've ever done.
Strike it from the record, man.
Yeah. No, it's fine. I don't want to talk about it. It's sort of my fault. Like I wasn't. It's not a terrible interview. It'll still come out and it'll be cool. But like he obviously released his new album on last week, Friday, and so I had a few questions about that at the start of the interview, which what I normally do, and then I normally go back a bit, like through their career, especially if they had a career as expansive as his. And I want to talk about the verse from Legend of Valor, his, that verse.
Yeah, the JMT one.
And as soon as I mentioned that, he was like, man, I literally just released an album. I said some interesting shit on there. Can we just talk about that? And I was like, oh shit, sorry, man. And he was like, no, it's cool. And as soon as I'd done that, he carried on interviewing me. He just lost that engagement.
Yeah, man.
But I did that with Pharoahe Monch when I interviewed him, and he was like, oh man, thank you. No one ever asked me this shit. So it's like you can never tell how it's going to go, basically. So
yeah, man, different personalities, I guess.
Yeah,
you do kind of get that impression from RA. I know we kind of talked briefly before you did it, and you were like, yeah, he's kind of. You just don't know what kind of day you're going to get him on. And you remember like the episode he did with Nardwar, and Nardwar just kind of fell into place because of his like quirky kind of methods anyway. So it kind of complemented each other really well. But yeah, man, props to you for having the fucking balls to interview Rugged Man. Like he just seems like such an off-kilter guy.
To be fair, and also he did say at the beginning he was like, I'm really ill today. Like he was like lying down on the couch. He was like sniffling, coughing. Took him a while to hear what I was saying. Just like one of those bad days, I think. So I can't blame him, and so. But it'll be coming out soon. It's going to be for the Fine Mag out in Holland, so it'll be on their site soon.
Nice one, man.
So keep an eye out for that.
But I mean, I'd probably be too tempted to just kind of talk about like exploitation cinema with him, or like Frank Henenlotter and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But then again, man, it's just a gamble, isn't it? Like,
well, that's the thing. I suppose I should have, because it's a promo run for his album.
Yeah.
And I did know that, but I did focus on that for the start. And I don't ever want to do like a whole interview about one album, because then I just think that's a bit of a waste if that's the only chance I'm ever going to get to speak to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's happened, and I've learnt my lesson.
No, man, he kept it real though. At the end of the day, I mean, like to your point, you get one chance with it. I mean, you might get to interview him again. Who knows? But I mean, you asked the question you wanted to know an answer to, and you got the response that he gave.
And he still answered the question afterwards. He still answered my question afterwards, and he went and spoke about that verse, and I got my answer. So it's all good. It was just
begrudgingly.
It was just like the mood after that. if it was an audio interview, it would be definite like peak, and then
yeah, man.
Yeah.
So, what did you think of the album? Because I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I think it's really good, man. Like really bold, because it's like what 22, 24 tracks or something.
Yeah.
And just that intro is like he joked about this in the interview. I was like, because I spoke about the length of the album compared to obviously like these 7-track albums that people are releasing in 20-minute albums and stuff. I said it was quite a statement against that.
Mm-hmm.
He said, yeah, man, people were joking I could have just released the intro as an album, like the way albums are structured nowadays, because he's got like 4 different beats on the intro and like cuts and stuff, and like yeah. So yeah, no, I think it's a solid body of work for him, because he doesn't release albums. Like he's not really he's a touring rapper. That's that's how he described himself. So I think it's 3 albums.
I guess 4 unofficially.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, but
I Rugged Man by Legend Heaven, and this is the 3rd one officially. But I think
I think this is, in terms of like production value, it's it seemed a lot more kind of cohesive to me, this project. Like but he always kind of follows a similar structure. There's always like a few concept tracks in there. There's always like some kind of autobiographical tracks about his family. There's always kind of self-deprecating, I'm a piece of shit kind of tracks. But I just had so much fun with it from like the start and to the finish, man. Like all the features work really well.
Yeah, man.
There's some good real good posse cuts on there as well. The one with like Ghostface on, and then there was the one later on with Paz. I can't remember the names of the titles.
No, I know. Same.
It's only just come out, man. It'll take a while to really like. That's the thing, because so much music comes out, and I will get around to it. Obviously, you're like a hip hop enthusiast, like especially for kind of independent music and an ambassador for the culture. Really, I mean, you're so immersed in it with your writing and everything you do. With the sheer volume of music coming out, and being that kind of involved in it, do you ever feel overwhelmed by it? Or you just kind of fully embrace it and just kind of happy to...
I do feel overwhelmed at points, but not in any way that would make me feel bad, because it's just like there's just too much music to listen to. That's not a complaint.
It's not a bad problem, is it? Yeah.
But it does get a bit like frustrating trying to keep up with everything that's coming out. Like if I don't, my memory's pretty bad anyway, so if I don't like save something or write it down as soon as I see it, it's just gone, and I probably won't until I see someone else post about it. So I'm always like saving tweets or statuses or try and keep up with it. But no, I mean it's just nice to see so much being made at the moment. Like I truly believe that, like, because there's been 3 golden eras in hip hop, like 80s, 90s, then sort of early 2000s, and I reckon for us now, like with UK hip hop, in years, this will be referred to as a golden era, because I can't. It's just like everyone's doing stuff, and there's so many different vibes going on, and collaborations, and it's just a good time to be a rapper.
A lot of kind of offshoots, isn't there? Like especially, we were chatting about this recently. Kind of, let's just use High Focus as an example. Yeah. So obviously, predominantly back in the day when it first came out, I mean, 10-year anniversary now, it's kind of boom bap orientated. But now they've kind of laid the foundation for that sound. They're kind of taking more risks and diversifying and kind of taking on more kind of obscure experimental artists on. Do you know what I mean? Some very kind of ambient sounding, some very kind of like more kind of like trap and grime orientated, like a hybrid of different things. So I think it's definitely, to your point, like we're in an age now where it's just like a big old kind of just mishmash of so many like genre bending sounds, and I fucking rate that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and that's why we have to give props to people like Poe and Funk, who sort of led the way on that, because like that hybrid rap shit, like London Zoo, Dabbler, they've been doing that for years.
That was a direct quote from Dabbler, wasn't
it? Yeah, exactly. And everyone's just catching up with them now, I think, because it's just. But it's good to see though. Like they've got a good thing going, and it's nice to be able to see that sort of camaraderie between the different styles now, because it used to be so divisive. Like, if you make trap, I'm not involved with you. If you make boom bap, I'm not. It's just like it's just silly need for that.
100%. And I think as a fan of music, and obviously it's important to kind of, music is subjective, and it's sometimes hard to really like articulate why why a certain piece of music resonates with you that's only like 2 to 3 minutes long. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's hard just to say yeah, man, that gave me screw face, or I was fucking rating it,
Mm-hmm.
or versus, oh, I didn't feel it. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of, it's difficult to something like a film where it's longer and you can be like, all right, yeah, objectively, I like that film because I like the characters, I like this, and all the kind of, you know, the plot devices, the structure, and all of that kind of stuff. But with music, it's so much harder to kind of quantify and articulate. And I think you do like a real good job of kind of conveying that in your writing. Do you know what I mean?
Thank you, man.
Because I think with music journalism especially, and it's important with independent music to have people who are like essentially gatekeepers and kind of advocates for that culture to shine a light on the diamonds in the rough, you know, because there's obviously a big UK scene, UK rap, drill, grime, all of that stuff, which is more somewhat commercially viable, and then you've still got like pockets of artists everywhere who are equally, if not more talented. You know, that's subjective ultimately.
Yeah.
But what you're doing is, and what we try to do as well as a platform, is to kind of like shine a light on people who wouldn't necessarily have that kind of exposure. But yeah, man. So rewinding back to the early days, how did you first get into journalism and writing, and then more specifically writing about hip hop music?
I literally, it was just a hobby, man. I think this is when I first do it. So 2006, this is the MySpace era. I was living in Nottingham then, and I met a girl on MySpace who lived in London. Moved down there to share a house with her, and then we ended up getting together. We were together for like 6 years, but she was working for a blog called Style 43, which is now long gone, but
yeah,
shout out to Style 43. I wanted to be involved with hip hop in some way, and I had come to the conclusion I could not rap for shit. But I was a massive fan, and I could write a little bit, like I'd always liked writing at school, but I'd literally never done it. I've been at school for 10 years at that point. I'd never touched a pen, pad. I'd never done anything like that. But I knew I could do it, so I thought I'd give it a go and started doing bits of Style 43. I think one of the first things I reviewed was one of the first High Focus releases. No, because that was 2010. No, it was when was that? Would have been then. No, it was all the Welsh hip hop. Like, do you remember Squid Ninjas and people like that?
Yeah, like Scammer and all. Joe Blow.
Yeah, exactly. That was my sort of christening era.
That's crazy, man. That's because that's such a niche like sound of hip hop. Do you know what I mean? That we often talk about regional hip hop and accents and all of that kind of stuff. And but for your kind of like your way in the door was through Squid Ninjas and Welsh hip hop. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, but then I've been like, because I've been living in Nottingham, I was there. I moved to Nottingham the year Capo released Spaz the World, and so Nottingham was like blowing up with like Out Deville, Capo, Lee Ramsey, all those guys, and that was like a very regional sound as well. Same with like what Connie and them were doing up in Manchester. So I had obviously been introduced to like regional hip hop before that, but from a critical point of view, that was like my first sort of, that was the first stuff. That was just the first stuff I got sent, basically. And then Star 43 came to an end, and I thought about starting my own blog, which was I think 2010 or 11. I can't remember the exact year, but started my own blog just as a way of just being involved in the scene again. And yeah, it sort of, my life went a bit off the rails in between then and now, and so the blog was sort of left by the wayside for a few years, and then I sort of moved back to Bristol end of 2015, and that's when I started focusing on actually making it into something positive and focusing on it and turning it into something brilliant. And then everything sort of stemmed from there. Basically, it's all just been a bit surreal, man. So I was never a journalist beforehand. I literally just started blogging, writing about hip hop from the off, and now I'm here doing all this stuff. And
I really rate that, man, because it's some things you just can't learn. You just learn by experience. You know what I mean? By doing. And I mean, it seems like just based on kind of what I see on social media and everything else, like you're so immersed in the scene. You're always kind of, well, not now because we're in lockdown, but you're always going to live shows. You're always kind of like rubbing shoulders with everyone in the scene and kind of really kind of celebrating in that way. So we talked briefly earlier about keeping your finger on the pulse with kind of like new releases and stuff like that. So you must have a fuck ton of artists hitting you up regularly just with like new music. Can you give me a write up? Can you give me a shout out or like a review, or what do you think of this kind of thing? Do you have some kind of like vetting process for this, or do you give everything a bit, kind of a bit of your time to kind of get a feel for what you fuck with and what you don't fuck with?
Yeah, I try to be as accommodating as possible, but I get sent so much stuff, man, that sometimes I just have to go on like face value. Like if an email's rude, for example, like if someone's just sending me their music and just being like, "Yo, bro, listen to this," then I'm not even going to touch it, right?
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting people out.
It's etiquette, people. Come on.
Yeah, or just like mass tagging. Like, it's 2020. Don't be mass tagging 99 people you don't even know in a Facebook post, mate. That's not the way to get your music heard. So I try to be because I like all sorts of hip hop. I don't really have a type of hip hop that I am favourable for. I just like it if I like it.
Yeah.
So to get the music on my blog, you won't find any negative reviews on there. Everything. My blog is just a celebration of music I love. That's why I started it. So to get on there, the only parameters are that I have to like the music. That's it.
Man, I kind of rate that, because it's a weird one these days, isn't it? With independent music, say if you're like an impartial platform, it must be kind of difficult sometimes to write like a bad review. Do you know what I mean? And to your point, as it's so small anyway, do you see that it being a kind of a hindrance just to pick something you don't like and write about it, rather than just like, I'm not into it, let me just focus on the positives, as you say? Because I think that's very kind of specific to independent music, especially like UK hip hop, for example, because the scene is so relatively small in like the grand scheme of things. Do you know what I mean? Do you think that's why?
I mean, it's for my blog because that's all I want to do with that. But for now, I'm in a position where I'm writing for other platforms where I have to be critical from the other side. It's very strange for me because I've never written a negative review in my life. And then when I started writing for The Wire, suddenly I was told that, I have to review albums that I might not like. And it was weird for me, man, because at the end of the day, it's my opinion. And I'm a strong believer in people making their own judgments on things. And that's why I always felt a bit funny about negative reviews anyway, because it was like, the amount of films that I've been put off by someone's review, and then I've watched it for myself, and it's like, oh, that's actually really good, or a book, or a CD, or whatever. So I think being put in that position to be like making decisions about someone's art, I don't know, it's just weird for me. I've done it.
I know what you're saying.
I've had to, I've got to keep my integrity, and my editor wants honesty. But when you see it in print and you're like, oh, they might have read that now, and like they put their life into that music, and I've just slagged it off. And
I hear you, man. I guess in an independent capacity, it's more like, as I say, like it's more kind of counterproductive to write a negative review when you can just not write a review.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I hear what you're saying, man.
I much prefer just doing the positive stuff and promoting the music I like to, but I'm now in a position where I have to be critical, but it's good though, because it challenged me to put myself into that mindset and write like that, and I can do it. I can do it quite easily, actually. I've worked out. But yeah, it still leaves me feeling a bit uneasy.
It's kind of interesting what you said about like critics putting you off watching certain films or listening to certain things and stuff. I think like for me, I don't know if you're the same, but there's a certain like type of critic that you tend to put more stock into than others. Do you know what I mean? Like, say if it's film, I'll probably, if Mark Commode says like, oh yeah, that film was good, I'll probably be like, oh right, okay, yeah, I've followed you for a long time, so I know that you know your shit. The same as like, Anthony Fantano or someone like that. You're like, oh, okay, like they need to drop. He gets some things not wrong, because you can't be wrong, it's subjective. But some things I disagree with. Like he didn't like the FKA Twigs album that dropped last year, and I was just like, what? But for the most part, if he rates something, I tend to kind of, I tend to, get some interest and listen to it based on his recommendation.
Yeah, I think that's a valid. I mean, that's very prevalent at the moment with all like tastemakers and that horrible word and trendsetters and stuff. So that's really it's really prevalent at the moment, that whole idea of people like you having these like figureheads for different areas of culture or whatever. rely on for. But even then, I'm like, that's still just your opinion. I know. Yeah.
Man. I think that's the thing with art. It's always so difficult to quantify. Do you know what I mean? But I think, some things are so terrible. Do you know what I mean? Like, exactly. You can normally tell when something's like poorly made, like technically, for example. Or like, say if like the beat is whack, or like the bars are shit, they don't rhyme, they're kind of the patterns all off, and their voice is horrible to listen to. Like there's certainly there's certain elements that are objective. There has to be. Do you know what I mean? But man, I think it's real. Like some people I do go to and I put more stock into than others. Do you know what I mean? Versus some people who, and this isn't like more of an independent thing, because what you're doing is great, because it brings it brings artists to the forefront that wouldn't necessarily have that. But if it's, say, within like a commercial platform, like a bigger, like more commercially viable artist, then I want to hear that. I don't want to like waste time listening to something because there's so much stuff coming out. I'd rather give my time to something worth listening to. And do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, it's interesting because there's just too much content. So you do kind of sometimes need a like push in the right direction.
Yeah, and also it goes the other way as well, because I'm saying, like, here I am saying, you shouldn't listen to negative reviews, but then the other time, if I'm saying to someone, "Oh, mate, this album's amazing, listen to it," and they don't like it, I get annoyed. Like, what do you don't like it? That's amazing. So
man, it's the worst thing.
Go both ways, like.
Yeah, it's so weird, isn't it? Because I can be so fucking obnoxious when it comes to like pushing my like preferences on people when it comes to like music and stuff. Like I know, and we'll probably go into it a bit more, but I know that you're really into like Billy Woods, and
that's what I always think of. That's my reference point for this.
Hiding Places, man, was just like, that was probably my favorite album that dropped last year, like up there at least, top kind of 10 territory, and it just, for whatever reason, it just takes you on this kind of sonic journey. You just like dive down the rabbit hole, and you're just like in his world, in that like horrible, grimy kind of, kind of
just
exactly. It's weird, but then you're like, all right, okay, my man here is into hip hop, right? Listen to this. This guy is just like nothing else, and they're just like, nah, not feeling it, not feeling the beats. It's just like, okay. And I'm like,
I know, and it's because I like, when I discovered Woods, I get these obsessions. Like if I find a new artist and they just click with me, like Aesop Rock's another one. It's just like something inside me, and I want to know everything you've ever done, and I'll just devour all their music they've ever made, watch interviews with them, blah blah blah, and then I probably won't listen to them for like a year after that. I do 6 months solid, and then I'll be like, no, I don't want to. But yeah, I did that with Woods, and so I was just like obsessed, and like his whole like off-kilter rapping style, and in fact he had like 10 albums by the time I found him, and I was like, where have I been hiding?
It's crazy, man. Because he's very like misanthropic, isn't he? Just very like hates. I guess that's kind of the theme of what he raps about a lot of the time. Like,
but also he's sorry, go on.
No.
No, I was just going to say, because he's his upbringing. Like, he was born in, I think, Rhodesia. Well, it was Rhodesia, like in Africa, and then I think his dad was maybe some sort of revolutionary scholar or something, and then he got taken to the Caribbean and then to Brooklyn. And I think he just had this sort of embittered upbringing, especially in terms of like colonialism, because he would have seen the dregs of that and stuff. And he's just very, like, race is a very important thing to him. And I don't know, he's just a very knowledgeable man, which comes across in his.
100%.
I think he's just world weary is a good. He's just fed up with what's going on.
Very like cerebral, and I think the what's the bar in the track where he says like, the insurance doesn't cover like the procedure, so like whatever. And it's just like, that just sums up the album for me. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, hopelessness.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I've like I said, I got obsessed with him, and then so that was all I was listening to, and he was the best thing I'd ever heard. And then I'd go and play him to a friend, literally first bars, they'd be like, what's this? Can't deal with it. And I'm like, it's heartbreaking, man. When someone's like that, I'm like, I what? What do you mean? But, that's how
I think with rap like that though, like and you mentioned A$AP Rock as well, and I think rappers like that, like Bus Driver and that kind of more independent type indie. Well, I say indie is it's derived from independent, I guess, but you know what I mean. It's kind of very, very kind of niche sounding, like New York hip hop, and it is like harder to digest initially when you listen to it. It takes a bit of time for it to grow on you. But I think if you give it the time, and you're like in ASAP Rock, for example, like sonically, like his voice isn't my favorite. He's got a very kind of like acquired taste.
Yeah,
like, his
like
voice,
this weird, yeah.
But then you say if like you bun a zoot and you're just kind of like zoning out, watching his music videos and you're listening to his lyrics, it's just like nothing else. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just absolutely.
Yeah, his lyrical output is ridiculous, man. Like, did you ever see that? I can't remember if it was Harvard or one of the Ivy League. They done that.
The chart.
Thing, and they basically collated, I think it was all the individual words from artists' first 3 albums, and they put them into this generator, and it had shown the amount of individual unique words they'd used across a scale. And you had like the likes of like, I don't know,
the littles and the youngs.
Lil Uzi Vert at this end.
Yeah.
Like the Woo like up here, like Jizza up here, and then like about 3,000 words ahead of everyone else at Bass Rock. It's just insane. Like,
yeah, man. It's very kind of, it's obviously very like methodical and very kind of like, it's kind of obsessive compulsive. There must be a reason why he just needs to get all of these words out.
Yeah.
But he paints pictures, man. It's kind of akin to like a Jan Baxter or someone from the UK. Do you know what I mean? Very similar.
Yeah, I've always said, like, drawn parallels between Baxter and A$AP Rock. But if like maybe if A$AP Rock had got into DMT instead of weed, that would have been.
Oh man, yeah, exactly, man. I know. I'm not going to kind of gloss over the fact that you brought up Pharoahe Monch earlier when we were talking about Rugged Man, and you mentioned that you interviewed him as well. So to segue onto my next question, so Pharoahe Monch, our really rugged man. I know that like Erica Badu follows you on Instagram as well. I know that's your kind of
and Twitter.
And I rate that, man, because she's been doing like some live concerts as well, hasn't she, during the lockdown?
Yeah,
and I think she stirred up a bit of like controversy by charging for it, and it's just like, well, they are musicians that need to eat as well. It's just like $1 or $2.
She was charging $1.
Yeah, man, exactly.
And like, I mean, it's Erica Badu. Like, I know there's plenty of people doing it for free, but she's saying I'm doing it charging $1, and if people are going to pay it. Why? I don't really get.
Yeah, I don't either, man. I don't. But I guess so. Besides that, what is your kind of like highlights throughout your writing career? So I'm guessing Pharoahe Monch has to be up there, right?
Pharoahe Monch is definitely up there because afterwards, so we did it face to face in his hotel when he came here on tour a couple of years ago. He was in Bristol. I went to interview him. We went back to like Organised Confusion days because that's how long I've been a fan, and that's still one of my favourite albums, like the Stress Extinction Level Agenda one. So yeah, we just spoke about all that, and then when it got published, it was on Grown Up Rap. He shared on Twitter and was like, "Yo, Ginger Slim, man, this interview brought me to tears," and I was like, "Wow, that's it now. That's me. I can just retire." But that's what I mean. That's the difference between him and the RA thing. It's like he was like moved by that, the fact that I'd wanted to go back and analyse all that, and so I think that's probably a high point. Right. So I'm a big Run the Jewels fan as well, mainly because I've been a fan of like LP's music since the early days. Yeah, exactly. That's the sort of hip hop you were referring to before. That sort of like this dystopian, weird, like New York, but a different New York, like a slightly future New York. But yeah, so I've been into LP since those days, and he started following me on Twitter. This is probably about 3 years ago, and Run the Jewels coming to the UK to do a tour. I was a big fan of theirs. And pretty much everything I've got in my career, I've done by just asking for it. So I just messaged him on Twitter and I was like, "Look, man, can I get guest list to your London show?" And he was like, "Oh, man, I'll put you on VIP." So I was like, "All right, fine." So me and my cousin went to, so this is just after RTJ3 had come out. So me and my cousin, Joe, went to Camden Roundhouse to see RTJ do their thing. With VIP, so we're up in the VIP gallery, and I'm quite blasé about who people are. If I don't recognise you, I'm just going to be like, I'm just going to talk. I talk to everyone basically.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm just like, "Oh, how you doing?" And I was just chatting to these 3 guys for a while, like talking about their night, and they walked off, and my cousin came over, and I was like, "Oh, they were nice," and he was like, "Yeah, that was Linkin Park, mate." And I was like, because I was never into their music, really.
Yeah.
It was like Chester Bennington, and obviously R.I.P. It's just surreal. And then after the show, we went to the after party, and I got to get drunk with LP, and it was
Sometimes
very,
though, man,
very
like sometimes like not indifference is probably like the wrong way to put it, but like if you don't know like who's about and you're just kind of completely indifferent or like nonchalant, then it works in your favor so much more, like because you're not intimidated, you're just more like casual, and they probably vibe off that as well. Do you know what I mean? Because you're not like some fanboy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wasn't asking how they felt when they made whatever. I was just like, oh, good night, mate. You having a good time, lads?
Hybrid theory.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's sick, man. So what's he like as a person, LP? Because he comes across like in every interview I've seen, he just comes across like a don. And I know like in lockdown, him and his wife have set up like a little podcast, haven't they, where they just like watch films that each other haven't seen. So he's getting his missus to watch like Terminator and stuff.
Yeah,
and they review it together.
Those two, because she's a comedian. Emily Panic is her name, and she's a stand-up comedian. She's a very funny lady, and obviously he's just a very entertaining man. Like he was a nice guy. I'll be honest with you, I was pretty drunk by that point. So I'm sure
doing shots with Chester Bennington. That's probably why, man.
Yeah, LP might hate me. I don't know, but as far as I'm concerned, the night was a success. So yeah, we're cool.
That's the main thing, man.
He was as lovely as I could expect. I didn't get to meet Mike, unfortunately. He'd gone back because I think his wife was touring with them, and they'd just gone back to the hotel to be a married couple. But
I just love how Run the Jewels have like kind of blown up, two dudes in their 40s. Obviously, like respectively, company flow background. You got like the Dungeon Family background, and like because I fucked with Killer Mike since back in the day, man. Like Dungeon Family, Outcast, all of that stuff.
Stankonia, and Trapping.
Come on, man. Yeah,
that first bars just comes in. Oh, mate, militant. Yeah.
And that Flip Flop Rock track on The Love Below as well. Or, no, Speaker Box. The Jay-Z track that he's on. He's so assertive with his bars, so aggressive and intense in the delivery, isn't he? Like a fucking rate Mike.
But it's one of those partnerships where the contrast and what makes it, because like he's like southern hip hop, that raw flow, and then LP's like pure New York, white, black. They're just like completely different types of music beforehand, and then just found this synergy that just unbreakable.
It's correct. It's absolutely fucking crazy, man. I saw them. Where was it? I think it was the HMV Forum, Kentish Town, like a few years back when they just dropped Run the Jewels 2, I think. And Killer Mike was like on the stage. Like he had a broken arm. He was in a fucking sling, and he was just like darting around. I was just like, "That's commitment, man."
Yeah.
Did you watch that show that he did on Netflix? Can't remember the name of it.
Yeah. No, I didn't. It was the one about black businesses.
Yeah. He covered something like different, like a different topic, like each week, and some of it was a bit like it kind of you have to suspend your disbelief a bit, like as to how much was real and how much wasn't. But it was a good concept, man. But it can't trigger warning. That's it.
That's
trigger
it. Yeah. I mean, I he's taught me a lot in fact, that man, because like his whole stance on like the Second Amendment, where they're
right to bear arms.
And he's a staunch supporter of that. And for me, when you hear that, as me as a white Englishman with no guns, understanding of his world, I'm like, why do you need a gun? And he's like, black man living in America where most people want to kill me. Like, I want to be able to defend myself. Yeah. And he's a member of the NRA. Like, and he's like, well, they're a terrorist organisation, I was saying. But from his point of view, how are you going to change something unless you're a part of it? So
that's true, man.
Shareholder, you can go to meetings, you can say your piece. If you're an outsider, you can't do shit. So that's his viewpoint. And that changed my whole view, because before then I was very blinkered. I was like, oh, how dare you associate with that? And
it's true, man. It's often like you make kind of a judgment based on like a position of privilege. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, all right, I've never had to deal with that. I've never had to deal with kind of the way people look at me and treat me because of the colour of my skin. And he has, so therefore he has an opinion on it, and we can't question it by default. Do you know what I'm saying?
But also when he comes across people who challenge his views online, he will educate them in a way that's very polite, and then say, "Have a good day, sir. See you soon." And he'll try and just,
Yeah, I think that's like very like prevalent in today's society. Like people are very kind of quick to judge, and they kind of sit within their little bubble, and they say, right, my view is right. I'm married to that view. Like I'm not going to change an opinion. And it takes a really kind of like a special kind of person to, and this is what I like I love people who hear new information and can change their view based on that information. They're not married to an opinion because they're essentially kind of arrogant and stubborn. Do you know what I mean? I love someone who can hear new information. Like, to your point, you heard him just say, yeah, man, like, I fuck with guns because I need to, and these are the reasons why. There's justification, there's rationale, and you're like, oh, right, I get it now. But unfortunately, there's too many people who don't share that kind of perspective, and they're just married to their opinion.
I know, and I was like that for years, man. I think age comes with it, because I'm 40 this year, which
the big one, man.
Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous, man. I don't even believe it. I think someone's lied to me at some point. But yeah, I think when I was younger, I was very like headstrong. You have your opinions, don't you? And you think that's it. That's all you believe in.
Yeah, man.
And like things like religion. Like, I was a staunch like Richard Dawkins supporter. I've still got his books. You know, I was an adamant atheist, and now I'm like,
Christopher Hitchens was my go-to, man.
I mean, like, Hitchens. I've got about 4 Hitchens books there, and I love Hitchens still, regardless of his But like Dawkins, I listen to Dawkins now. I'm like, God, you were horrendous. You're as bad as the people you're railing against.
Yeah, no, I get that.
It's that extreme, like, no, I'm not going to shift my viewpoint now. This is how I am. Like you said,
the difference between the two, like with Dawkins and Hitchens, I think is like, because Christopher Hitchens, just the way he articulates, used to, rest in peace, but just the way he debated and his like turn of phrase and his vocabulary used was just like, come on, man, you could be debating anything and I'd listen to you and I'd agree with you. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Absolutely hilarious, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I bought that book, God Is Not Great, like some years ago, and that just, it's crazy. But to your point, it's you need two perspectives to have like any kind of involvement in the argument.
Yeah.
Because otherwise...
Yeah, exactly. And this is why I see, like, I've literally blocked Richard Dawkins on Twitter, because I was just fed up of seeing his like stupid little, like, oh, and if someone's doing this, then it's like, no, mate, just be that militant all the time. Like, I don't know. That's why I thought, did you ever see the South Park episode where it was like set in the future and Dawkins, like, they banned all isms except for atheism, and what had happened is atheism split into different factions and they were fighting against each other. And that was about misinterpreting Richard Dawkins' original texts. I thought it was hilarious.
Mate, South Park, Trey and Matt are geniuses, man. Like, I legitimately believe that they're like modern day geniuses. Just like the way they carry themselves, just like they're just. When it comes to satire, man, those two just are untouchable. Do you know what I mean? Do you remember like years back when South Park Bigger, Longer, Uncut came out and they went to the Oscars like dressed as women on acid? The fucking interview, man, it was amazing. They're just like, yeah, why not? And they made a point of not addressing the fact that they were just like dressed as women the entire time.
It's carried on.
So good. It's like an interview where like he's just stood there just like kind of gurning and looking intensely, and he's just like, yeah, we don't really want to be here. Those guys are jokes, man. I love them. But so what's in terms of like writing and stuff, obviously you mentioned The Wire magazine, Grown Up Rap as well, that's another publication. Are you still involved in that?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done stuff for them, as just me having other stuff going on. A big shout out to Grown Up Rap. It's run by a guy called Ben, who was part of Hip Hop Connection back in the day. He's actually an author as well. He's written a few books. And very knowledgeable guy. Runs what is ostensibly a blog that's now become a site. So it's just a one-man operation, same as mine blog. And he reached out to me a few years ago on Twitter about doing some work. And that's who I've done all the big interviews with. So Evidence, Pharoahe, Monch, OC, Billy Woods, Blue, man. That's all through him. So I owe a lot to that guy. I've actually got a couple. There's Elucid, Elucid.
Yeah, or same kind of ilk as Billy Woods. Yeah.
Hammer partner. So I've got an interview with him coming on Grown Up Rap soon. And so they've done a lot for me. The Wire was the one that meant the most, though, because I don't know, man. That was like a magazine that I read. It's been running since 1982.
Yeah, the early 80s, I was going to say.
I think it's the longest running like music magazine that's been in print now. And so I used to read it when I was like 15, 16. And like now I'm like, my name's in there. It's just, it's very happy.
Yeah, man. But you made it happen, man. You kind of, it's persistence and hard work, man. You did it,
Yeah, yeah, I've just like, this is why I need to thank people. Like, there's a guy called Neil Kulkarni who's like a veteran music journalist from the UK. I used to read his reviews in like Vibe magazine and stuff in the 90s. I read his review of Things Fall Apart by the Roots.
Man.
90s. Yeah, he's been around for years, and now he's like just one of my mates on Facebook, and he was a fan of my blog, put me in touch with his editor at The Wire because he used to do bits for them. Editor asked me to do something, and that was it. So yeah, thank you, Neil, because you fucking changed my whole life. And yeah, so that's been like Surreal, the Fine Mag out in Holland. I've done a few bits for them. That's who the RA interviews for. And then the main thing I do other than that is the Blah blog. Like I run the Blah Records blog as well. But yeah.
How did that come about, man? Because I know you interviewed Lee Scott recently, didn't you, on your blog?
That was actually the second one we've done. So I interviewed him, I think, in 2016. Mm-hmm. We did like a really in-depth, it's like a 2-part interview on my blog. So that was like the first time I properly sort of met him. It was just my phone, but and I think a year or so after that, obviously I've been doing my blog and I've been supporting their music. And I think Salah reached out to me one day and was just like, "Do you want to run our blog for us?" Because they've got other stuff to be doing, and it's not, it's quite easy work for me, and it's nice to be involved with a label that I'm a big fan of. So
yeah, man. I mean, Blah Records are just like, in terms of obviously the whole kind of cult aesthetic, it just works so well. Like the releases, like the hard copies, and all of that kind of stuff. Like I really rate what those guys do.
Yeah, they've been. I'm pretty sure that Molotov from High Focus.
Yeah.
So he's like Alex was quite instrumental in setting up High Focus, and I'm pretty sure he was instrumental in setting up Blah as well, because I think Lee met him in Liverpool. I think I've been studying up there or something. It's in the interview we did. So that guy is responsible for a lot of the good stuff that's happening in UK hip hop.
Damn, man.
Yeah,
he's like Kevin Bacon, like the 6 degrees, just connecting everyone.
Yeah. Just my work here is done. They'll just drift off to the next place.
So in terms of like what you've been listening to at the moment, besides what you have to for work, or if you're writing a piece, like what kind of free? And I asked you this previously, like any genre, if you could have 3 albums, let's say hypothetically a global pandemic swept the world, and you had to stay inside and bump these 3 albums. What would they be and why?
I'm just going to try and picture that for a second. Wait a minute. Do you know what? I as soon as you said that to me yesterday, I was like, okay, I'll think about that. And then I was like, what's an isolation album? I was like, I couldn't think of what you actually. But
so you could rephrase it as like a desert island disc, man.
Okay, I think there would definitely be a Bob Marley album on there. Rastaman Vibration, I think that's probably my favourite of his. I'm a massive roots reggae fan, and Bob Marley's my favourite. It's Rastaman Vibration, just because it's just a nice, enjoyable, sunny album. I think Labour Days by A$AP Rock.
A$AP Rock, yeah.
Yeah, so that's his second album, third release. Blockhead production. That's sort of like the album where he became his own.
Daylight track, man.
So he'd done like the Daylight EP just before that, but then Daylight. It's got like Labour on it, 9 to 5ers Anthem, Bent Life with C. Ray's Waltz. It's just a really deep album you can like sit down and analyse and just get lost in. Like you were saying earlier about his lyrics, it just sort of absorbs you. And then, I don't know, probably Aretha Franklin. Spirit in the Dark.
Come on, man.
That's my favourite of hers. I think I'm a big blues fan as well, and that's probably her most bluesy album. Don't Play That Song for me. Spirit in the Dark, the song itself. Just one of those timeless, put on anytime, any place, anywhere, and I'll be like,
Man, that's a good way to put it, man. It's something that you can just kind of listen to anytime without question.
Yeah.
And it's not going to piss you off listening to it on repeat in isolation every day. No, man. No, three solid choices there, man. So on more of the kind of UK tip, what were your favourite releases from last year? Because it was a big year for UK hip hop. I think there was some really, and sometimes like UK hip hop, I know obviously by definition that's what it is, but to some extent it's just hip hop music. Do you know what I mean? Made in the UK.
Yeah.
And I know some people are more kind of precious about using the term than others, and then some people are a bit more kind of I don't want to categorize myself as UK hip hop. I'd rather just be hip hop in the greater scheme of things. But let's just, by definition, a UK hip hop release that came out last year. What was up there for you, man? You can have multiple ones.
I really enjoyed the Jan Baxter and Lee Scott collab. The happy hour at the, I can't remember what the name was. Ridiculously long name that you're never supposed to remember. But that was just a really weird album. I think they made while they were drunk in Spain together. And it's got lots of Lee singing on it, and just weird shit going on, which I really like. I'm a big fan of like weird rap, basically. Like, like alternative stuff. It's just like goes against the grain a bit. And plus, they're two of my favourite artists from the UK, and together they're always good. So yeah, that was really enjoyable. I'm trying to remember what was last year now. It seems like forever ago. Was the Dead TBassi?
Yeah, and Ashley Orfar.
Yeah. Apex.
Yeah, Apex. That was a sick album, man. Yeah, that was last year.
I'm trying to remember that was last year, wasn't it? That was definitely up there. And what was that? Oh, Compound. I really like the Compound album.
Eagle Court.
Yeah, just because I'm a big fan of those guys anyway. And they've sort of just nailed that sort of hybrid sound that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, man.
Plus, I got a shout out on it, so that's always going to bump it up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly, man.
They use my real name as well, which is quite surreal.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. There was so many good releases, man. Like That Kid's album, obviously, was like a big one when that dropped. But it seems like so long ago now, man. Do you know what I mean?
I'm trying to remember what was actually last year. Yeah.
Did you listen to the Fly Hooligans album? Fuck Your Life, Praise Mine Too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big one for me, man.
I'm a big fan of his, especially that one he did recently with Crime Apple.
Yeah.
Really happy to see him connecting with those guys because they're like.
Well, he's tight with them, man, isn't he? Like he knows them all. Do you know what I mean? Like it's crazy. I think he's like, I think his sounds.
Well, him and Sonny are basically our two like legit baller rappers. Like
yeah.
And they've got those connects over there, like and Gallo Point as well.
Oh man, Gallo's sick.
Yeah.
Because he produced Magnum Opus, didn't he? Obviously Parky's recent joint, and the joint he did with Juggernaut last year, Back to the Grill Again, that was big.
Yeah.
Jugs joined
stuff with like Astanac and all those people out in America, so he's connected with Crime Apple. So I think it's all that. It's just this nice little.
It's nice kind of like luxurious kind of bars, isn't it? Very like just I love all like the kind of food references as well in there. It just works really well. Yeah, it's cool. There's just such kind of a diverse sonic landscape in the UK scene right now, and I'm just it's just sport for choice. Do you know what I mean?
I know. In fact, sorry, going back to what you said, the Juggernaut album. That's a good show because that was last year, wasn't it? Back to
yeah.
That was a definite highlight for me. Jugs is just phenomenal.
Like, catching up with him for a chat soon as well, man. That'd be good. Because he's just a wordsmith, isn't he? And his cooking game's on point as well, man. Fucking hell, like he's one of those barers about food, and you're like, everyone can relate to food. Do you know what I mean? So I want to listen to people rap about food, whether it's like Action Bronson, whether it's like Raekwon, whether it's fucking Juggernaut. It just sounds so good. Do you know what I mean?
But Juggernaut and Bronson, they both chefs, so it like works well because you know what they're talking about is correct. They're using the proper phrases and stuff and the terminology. You're like, oh, that's
like a CV, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I've seen those. Like I remember watching what's his name? Who's the chef who died? Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah.
Because I was a big fan of his old shows, and I was watching after he died. I was watching one of his original, the ones where it was in New York and it was really gritty. I can't remember what it was called. No reservations. Anyway, I was watching one of those, and they used to have like clips of New Yorkers like talking in between, like, "Oh, if you want the best hot dog, you got to go to such and such." And one of them was just Action Bronson. and he was back then when he was a chef. He had no beard. He just had really rosy cheeks, and he was just talking about, because he was friends with Bourdain, and they were just talking about good food. It was just weird to see him like as a chef with no hip hop attachment to him.
Yeah. It's weird with Bronson, isn't it? Because he's such a like larger than life character, and that's like obviously like part of his branding. It is who he is, obviously, but that's kind of, you know, it would be easy to kind of like dismiss him as being this kind of like, you know, just a stoner who raps and that kind of thing. But he must work so hard to kind of like maintain that kind of brand. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of it's crazy, man. Like my guy Steve, who runs shout outs the Others podcast based in Finland. So his podcast is all about like Pharoahe and NERD and Billionaire Boys Club and all of that kind of stuff. So he had like Shay Haley on the podcast, and he's had other people like that and stuff. And his co-host back in the day, he was born and raised in Queens. And one day my boy just sent me a photo, and he was just like, we went over to record with him at his flat, and he goes, yeah, he went to school with fucking Action Bronson. He was just like a photo of his co-host with like Action Bronson as like a little chubby adolescent kid. And it's just like, what the this is madness. And he was like, yeah, we just FaceTimed him today, casual. I was like, what?
It's meant to be.
Yeah, man, it's madness. It's absolute madness.
But fair play to him, because I mean, it's the thing, he is a good rapper. There are a few rappers who've gone to become personalities, and you're like, that's what you should have been doing the whole time. You've used that to springboard yourself into a career, and that's cool. But Action Bronson's actually a good rapper. Like,
man,
I'm not as much a fan of the stuff he's been doing recently as I was for like his early stuff, like the Blue Chips tapes.
Rare Chandeliers, and what's the Dr. Lecter, man, with Tommy Maz produced it. I love that album.
Yeah, but then he did the one with he did the whole one with Static Select, didn't he? Rare. No, not Rare. No, I'm just thinking. It's a cooking reference, but things like that. He seemed a lot more like hungry back then.
Static Select is such a good shout, actually, man. Like, he's just another like one of those consistent producers that's just like always in a playlist of mine somewhere. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, oh yeah, what's this beat? And it's like Static Select. I'm like, oh yeah, of course.
Thanks.
Man. That Population Control album he dropped like probably best part of a decade ago. You know, we've got like terminologies obviously on a lot of his stuff, but like the Sean P track that opens it, and there was a track on there by with what's his name, Brother Ali, and what's the guy called from Slaughterhouse again? Joel Ortiz, you know?
Joel Ortiz, yeah.
You know that track, and then like the kind of Biggie on the hook. It's called it's such a banger, man. I love that song, but for the life of me, I can't remember what the title is.
He's
damn
good
right. Damn right. That's it.
Yeah, he's good at putting people together like that on tracks. So he did one on Joey Badass. Oh no, it was Royce, Action Bronson, Royce, and then Black Thought. Like in that order, and like they're all good MCs, but you realise how much better those two are than Bronson, because like you've got to do his verse, and then Royce comes in, and Royce is good, but then Black Thought, like you get halfway the track, and they both finish rapping. You're like, who's going to finish off? And it's like Black Thought comes in for like 2 minutes on his own. So
Black Thought like transcends other rappers for me personally. Like I've always been a huge fan of like the Roots. I own every single album that they've released. Like I love the Roots, and that's probably like. Well, I've got a lot of like great memories associated with listening to them growing up, but Black Thought often, obviously, the internet's a great thing and it's exposed him a lot more. But you know, he's obviously part of a band, so often kind of overlooked. You hear like, all right, all the greats. You got like Biggie, Pun, and like Black Thought. It's like who's Black Thought? And he's part of the Roots. Like don't sleep on this guy. And then that it wasn't Sway. Who was it that he was on? The 10-minute freestyle that he did.
Funk Master Flex.
Funk Flex. Yeah, that's it. And he just he schooled everyone, didn't he?
Oh, mate. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. I think he's regarded. I think by the people who need to know who he is, they know who he is. Like pretty much every rapper, that's their favorite MC or Rakim. Like that's normally how it goes. And I think it's done a lot better recently, obviously the last couple of years, because he released those two
he did the one with Ninth Wonder, didn't he? And Train of Thought Part 1 and 2.
With
the guy who does the stuff with Amy Winehouse. What the hell is his name?
Yeah. But yeah, I think he's becoming a lot more prevalent. But yeah, he's just like god tier. But also, someone else who deserves a shout is Mos Def, because, like, have you seen the video of those two together?
Yeah, man.
Obviously they did that famous BET cypher with Eminem.
Yeah.
There's a video of them like either before or after just talking, and like Mos Def is doing Black Thought's verse to him, but like faster than Black Thought's done it, and Black Thought's just like, yo, it's the only motherfucker who can do my rap, man. And just like Mos Def's just a fan, and I love that. Like,
same, man. It's like that video where Mos Def's like praising Doom, isn't it? He's
yeah,
like
that's
a fan of Doom, yeah, and he's just reciting all of those. Oh man, yeah.
Just keep saying his bars, like just keep coming to his head. It's just like that. That's just infectious, man. And I don't know, that just makes me hold him in another light, because he's so like, I don't know. I think when people who you're a fan of become your peers,
yeah,
I think you try to consciously not be a fan. Like, I don't want to be like fanboying around rappers now anymore because of my position now. But at the same time, I don't ever want to lose that passion. Whereas Mos Def is just like, no, man, this is my boy, but he can rap and I love it. And it's just like, that's good, man. I like that. There's no like, oh, I've got to be a bit more reserved now. No, you enjoy the music first and foremost, and you love your mate who can rap. Just celebrate that.
I loved like the whole kind of like Soulquarians era and like all of those types of rappers, you know, like Talib and Mos and like the Roots and like
Common,
yeah, like Erica, like all of that. That's the kind of rap I love, really. Yeah, man. I think that's the kind of rap that I really kind of gravitate to, like, naturally. Do you know what I mean? And always will have a soft spot for. Like, you know, like Dave Chappelle's Block Party that dropped like years back. Like,
don't get me wrong, that's one of my favourite documentaries of all time, man. That's one thing I'm constantly recommending to people, because it's like something that no one or a lot of people haven't seen.
Hold up, yeah, man. I've got the DVD here.
Yeah. I've got mine's just there.
Sick, innit?
Michel Gondry.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. The guy who did Spotless Mind, whatever it is.
And Science of Sleep and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's just like, besides just being like a real sick music documentary, it's just full of like weird little kind of skits and stuff. Like, you know, the couple who, like, that quirky eccentric couple who live in that building that they want to shoot in front of. Yeah, and they're telling the story about when they met. And he's just like, oh yeah, if I was like putting an advertisement out for like a crack house, then this would be it. Do you know what I mean? But just the lineup on that show, aren't you just like thinking to yourself, like, that is like for me the ultimate lineup? You know, like Dead Prez, like early Kanye, Common, like Talib, like Dead Prez,
and you've got like
Roots. I was just like, come on, yeah, it's just. Oh man, it's ridiculous. And then to top it off, fucking Lauryn Hill comes back at the end. It's just like
They like reunite the Fugees pretty much. It's like
because it was like a legal stipulation or something, wasn't it? They were like, oh yeah, Lauryn Hill can't like perform solo, so we had to reunite the Fugees. So it's just like what?
And when they're practicing backstage and like Dave's doing like his like sort of spoken word jokes. And like someone's playing along on the drum, it's all about shit.
Nobody needs free titties. That's ridiculous. Mos Def's there just like on the drums, isn't he? Like,
yeah.
But that's what he said. Like, it's so interchangeable, like music and comedy. Like, he was saying like Mos Def's probably like one of the funniest people he knows, but not many people know that because he's obviously like, you know, he's a rapper. But when you see him on like the Chappelle show and like behind the scenes on this, it's so evident how funny and like charismatic he is.
Also, like, shout out to Dave Chappelle, because he's been friends with those guys for years. Like, him and Erykah Badu are like best mates. Like, yeah. And so he's done a lot for all that stuff, man. Yeah.
Because he was on. They had like a show on Netflix recently, like celebrating Dave Chappelle's career. I can't remember what the name of the award was, but it was just like everyone like sucking his dick for like an hour. Do you know what I mean? It was one of those, but it was just like, because Dave Chappelle, you're like, yeah, he deserves it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. So before we wrap up, man, so what's in the pipeline for Ginger Slim going forward, like writing wise, like anything else of note that we should that you want to talk about?
I've just done my first proper article for The Wire, which was a 10th anniversary profile on High Focus. So that's going to be coming out in print. It was supposed to be this month, but because it's sort of focused on their live shows, because they're quite legendary, and their live show was going to be this month, but obviously it's been postponed. So the Wire decided to postpone the article as well. So I think it's going to come out in August, in the August issue. So that'll be good. Also, I wanted to do a profile about Contact Play, because obviously you know who they are, but there are quite a few people who I get the impression aren't really aware of the sort of impact they've had on the scene, like, or who they were to start off with, because that was like 5 guys from Cambridge who were just having parties and causing mayhem. But within that crew, you had Ed Scissor, Ronnie Bosch, Jan Baxter, Dirty Dyke, and Mr. Key, who are now, like, you know, 5 of the best lyricists we've got in the UK, and who sort of make up a lot of the backbone of High Focus. So I wanted to sort of write a profile about that. So I put up a thing saying I was ruminating an idea about doing that, and then someone contacted me saying, "Oh, why don't you make a film out of it? And I'll help you do that." It's a young filmmaker from Bristol who I know. So I got in touch with Dirty Dyke, and I was like, "Have you got any footage from those days?" He was like, "Mate, we used to take a camcorder everywhere with us, and like Ronnie's still got all the tapes."
Yes,
they're going to get me all that footage.
Nice, man.
And then me and Sarah are going to go through it and try and put together a little documentary about it, which would be crazy because I've never done anything like that before, and you know, but why not?
Because I was going to ask you, man, like, have you ever put your kind of writing talent to like writing a screenplay or like anything like that, or is it mainly just kind of journalism?
I mean, I will be 100% honest with you now. My self-confidence has always been an issue with me. Like throughout my entire life, I was a very nervous kid, always an issue with me. And so it's only like, even though I've been writing for 10 years plus now, it's only like the last couple of years where I've actually sort of got it into my head that I am a writer and I am good at what I'm doing. So now my confidence has grown, and especially now my life has actually sort of sorted itself out. I'm in a position now where I feel confident enough to say, I'm going to go and do that. Even if it fucks up, I'm going to go and do it, because then that's how you learn. Whereas before I was like, oh, I don't want to risk doing that in case it doesn't work out, because then my head would have been like, oh, don't ever try that again. You know how it goes.
Yeah, so, I really rate that, man.
Yeah, and it's taken me a long time, man. Like I said, I'm almost 40, and I felt that way since I was a kid. So to try and change that mindset, it takes a hell of a lot of work. But I think I've finally got there. And so, sorry, in answer to your question, I'm just want to push myself as far as possible with writing. So anything that I can do creatively in terms of writing, I want to get involved with now. Whether it's screenplays, whether it's I'm writing Tom Caruana. You know, Tom Caruana runs TC Records.
Yeah.
Just put out a really good album called Adapt to Trap. But he's asked me to write the liner notes for one of his vinyl releases coming, but from the point of view of a space captain fleeing Earth while losing his sanity. I'm like, well, I've never done anything like that in my life, but I would love to do that, and I'm going to try and do it. So things like that, I would love to be involved. So yeah, in answer to your question, yes, I want to do more stuff like that. I just haven't done it yet.
I really rate that, man. I think it's good, and I see, like, you know, sometimes in your posts, every now and again, you do like sit back and take stock in what you've achieved proudly. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's important to do that as a creative. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not, you know, some people might consider that to be, oh, I can't like say that because it's arrogant or whatever, but it's not. Sometimes you just need that self-belief. Do you know what I mean? And it's important to kind of have faith in what you're doing and using it to kind of push you to do more. Do you know what I mean? So fair play, man. It's good that you've kind of overcome that challenge that you've had previously, and now you're smashing it, man. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, what do you ever kind of read back what you've done and who you've met, who you've interviewed, like the publications you've written for, and just think, fuck, like that's me. Like, what's going on?
I make a point of doing it all the time because of the confidence issues I have and the just ongoing mental health struggles I have. There are days when I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to do this, I can't do this, or I don't want to do it. And I'm like, this is when you need to sort of take stock, and it's like there is an arrogant way of doing that sort of thing, and it can come across as that if you do it the wrong way. But if you're celebrating your successes and your achievements, that's a valid thing to be doing in life. Like, and your friends all want to celebrate with you, or your people who know you. So just always do that if you can. Like, anyone out there who's like struggling with whatever thoughts in their head about what they have or haven't achieved. Like, I'm 40 this year. I thought I hadn't achieved anything, and now I'm, literally the last few years, my whole life's turned around. So always just celebrate your wins, man.
Yeah, man, 100%. I think it's like a British sensibility as well, isn't it? Like Americans are very good at it and like gassing themselves up and stuff, but sometimes like it comes across like disingenuous. But for like a British person, I think naturally we're a bit more kind of reserved and a bit more
the other way completely,
self-deprecating and that kind of thing. No, fair play, man. But I just thought because this guy who's popped up on many a feed recently, Juan Cornea, and man, my missus bought this for me about 5 years ago, and I think when he kind of was, just starting to, he's obviously been about a while.
Yeah.
But I left it out in the sun, so like the cover's faded a bit. But his memes just like, or say memes, but his pieces get me through the day, man. They're just on point.
Yeah, he's It's just their fixed grins. They're just like really unnerving.
Yeah, man. The one where he goes up to like a yeah, this one, mate. This one's amazing. It's just completely out of context, but once it clicks weird. And you understand, you're just like, yeah, man, this guy.
I think the original, with the selfie stick with the gun.
I've got that on a t-shirt, man.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
He
made like figures and stuff like that. It's such a classic, like, yeah.
I think the piece was called like Selfie or something.
Yeah.
That guy's crazy, man. So before we wrap up, Tim, man, where can we find your stuff? Where can we find your blog and on social media and all of that good stuff?
Right. So social media, Ginger Slim, no spaces, all lowercase, and then on Instagram it's got an underscore after it. So Twitter, Ginger Slim, Instagram, Ginger Slim _. Then my blog is on WordPress, so it's gingerslim.wordpress.com. And then you can go on Grown Up Rap and search for Ginger Slim, and you'll find all my interviews. And yeah, I'm about, basically. So
big up, man.
But if you follow me on social media, then you're going to get everything because it's all sort of collated in there.
I do love how on your blog about page it says like for all submissions and death threats and just has your email address. I rate that, man. Big up, man. Yeah. But no, I'm glad you're keeping safe and well, man. As I said, like it's been a pleasure speaking to you, and we'll have to have you back on the show when all this madness lifts and
man.
Have a few beers and make a day of it, man. But no, honestly, mate, really appreciate the chat. Like you're doing bits and big up for everything you do. Like flying the flag for the culture. And yeah, keep in touch, man, and let me know what you got on. But so we've been it's Shotgun the Orcs, Tom rocking it solo at Shotgun the Orcs, all platforms, YouTube, Spotify. Again, apologies for the kind of the quality of the audio, but as I said, all our equipment is kind of like here and there. So this will come out on all platforms shortly. I'm going to post all of Ginger Slim's links and to his blog and kind of other websites in the YouTube comments below. So make sure you look for that. But man, unless you got anything to add, let's wrap this shit up, bro.
Thank you, brother. It's been a pleasure. Really
Big up, man. Virtual bump, man.
Yes.
Enjoy your run, man.